Matthew chapter 23, verses 1 to 3. Then spoke Jesus to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, The scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. It is obvious that Jesus did not contend with the scribes and Pharisees for telling people to do what the Bible says. The standout behavior of the scribes and Pharisees, which Jesus rebuked, was hypocrisy. The scribes and Pharisees excused their sins in many ways, often in very creative ways. They were overall forward to say what people ought to do, yet not diligently do it themselves. Understand, though, that neither being a scribe nor a Pharisee was inherently a bad thing. The Pharisees were a sect which was supposed to be zealous for biblical holiness. What the Pharisees often became, though, was a horrid display of carnality, cloaked as biblical holiness. Likewise with the scribes, who were supposed to be especially knowledgeable in God's law. That is a good thing if one handles the law faithfully and does the will of God revealed therein without partiality. Yet partiality in the law became prevalent among the religious leaders in Israel. God even rebuked Israel's priesthood collectively for corrupting itself by partiality in the law well before Jesus' incarnation. See Malachi chapter 2, verses 7 to 9. How could partiality in the law look today? Here are just some examples. Preachers who preach against immodesty in society while their own wife and her daughters wear makeup and short skirts. The person who speaks biblical precepts about loving your neighbor as yourself, who complains about small things and makes everyone's life around him miserable as a result. The person who is more zealous to pray publicly and or do other public religious things than they are to be faithful in their duties before God in private. The person who condemns murder and genocide in some cases, yet supports abortion, or vice versa. The person who seeks to protect their own friends and family members from the criminal justice system and or proclaims the innocence of such when an impartial person would know that they are obviously guilty. The person who seems like a responsible, patient, caring family man or woman in public, who becomes short-tempered, hostile, and cold behind closed doors. The person who expects accountability from others in ways that they are not willing to be accountable themselves. That is just a handful of a multitude of possible examples to give here. In continuing to read Matthew chapter 23, the sample of how Jesus continued to describe the evil character of the wicked scribes and Pharisees is very telling. We see there that unrealistic expectations of others without willingness to share their burden, exaggerated and unnecessary religious attire, and since there is no Levitical priesthood now, all clerical garments are unnecessary and ostentatious, love of prominence at religious gatherings, and taking flattering titles and or giving flattering titles to others are all demonstrations of the corrupt ways of the evil scribes and Pharisees.